You're listening to Just Believe, sponsored by Just Believe Recovery Centers, with your host, Brenda Swift, as she discusses all aspects of addiction, recovery, and sober living. And now, your host of Just Believe, Brenda Swift.
Welcome to Just Believe Radio. I am your host, Brenda. I am here at 3 p.m. Monday through Saturday on 900 a.m. The Talk of the Palm Beaches. We do have a call-in hotline for anyone that needs help for addiction for themselves or a loved one. It's 877-309-3635. That's 877-309-3635. And I am back with my guest today, John from Atlanta. Welcome back, John.
Thank you, Brenda. Good to be here.
And good to have you here. John is a person in long-term recovery that's been gracious enough to share on a consistent basis with us a lot of the hope and inspiration and tools that go along with seeing that there's a problem in your life with addiction and being able to walk through and learn how to maintain that. You mentioned it's a little cold up there. What is winter for you in Atlanta?
Well, right now it's not freezing. The ground isn't frozen solid, but it probably will be at a few other points along the way. So far, we haven't seen any snow like we did last year, snow and ice. So we're at least able to maneuver around. We're certainly not nearly as bad as they are further up north, but this is as far north as I want to go, being from South Florida.
Oh, I can imagine. We're, of course, in the 70s here and, sunshine. And, we have a few complaints when it gets a little cloudy and windy. But I was up in Chicago, and some of the snowstorms up there, they would laugh at your little ground hasn't frozen yet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is a relative thing, and it's not so bad, really.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we wanted to talk about was how life doesn't end once you actually start to realize that the drinking and partying has to. For me, that was we try to stay a step ahead of that moment. We know when we're doing it that sooner or later it's going to come. The kid's going to be up. That it's time and how scary that is. In a previous show, we did talk about that moment of walking through what to do and how to go about changing those things, and that it's the big fear of the unknown that keeps you from doing that.
Well, you get locked into such a rut. I mean, think about it. You're doing this day in and day out with this thing that you think you're doing a life, and the reality of it is that. And again, I'm speaking from the fact that I'm where I'm at, looking back at what I did. I'm doing life. I'm doing my job. I'm doing everything that I thought I was supposed to be doing. The thing I didn't understand that besides all the good stuff I was doing in life, I was also feeding an addiction. And the thing I did not understand about addiction is that it progresses. It gets worse. And it did. It completely consumed my life at one point, to the point where I just realized that I was physically dying because of this. And that was the point where I started to turn things around and made phone calls and started to get help from people that knew what they were doing.
And again, the number for anyone that wants information is 877-309-3635, and that is a 24-hour hotline for help for addiction. And, excuse me, one of the things that you had talked about before was how it does take a period of time of little tiny adjustments, giving more and more to
Sure.
the addiction to for it to really take your life over like it can and does for those of us that apparently have that addictive gene. And it can happen, so gradually. It doesn't have to be, grown up in an alcoholic home and that's all that was my experience. But a lot of people, their mid-30s, 40s, 50s end up with surgery and taking painkillers and end up having that addictive response to the opiate, and they're often running and never even saw it coming. So a lot of things you'll hear on the show, we're talking from different levels of addiction, different types of addiction, but what we primarily try to look at is that what happens when these substances are introduced, what changes in your life, and that's the primary thing, that you don't have to fit that brown paper bag bottle in the gutter in Chicago version of an alcoholic to really know that there's a problem. If it's creating pain for you, then there's a problem.
Well, I was building police department dispatch centers. I mean, just before all this blew up in my face, I was this responsible human being, engineer, designing these E911 systems and doing a really, really great job at it, but my personal life was falling apart. And it got to the point where I really couldn't function anymore and didn't really know what was going on. What was going on was addiction was going on, and it reached that point where all of a sudden I just wasn't able to function, to do anything. And that was the most bizarre thing in the world. And you're right. There is no one cookie cutter kind of hit the bottom, crash and burn moment. Everybody's got their bottom, or that point where they just cannot figure out what to do next, just knowing their lives are just being consumed by something external of them, a pill, a drink, a drug, all of the above.
Yes, absolutely. And that was one of the things I remember hearing early on, is if you're asking yourself if you have a problem, then the odds are that you probably do.
Probably do, right?
And that was a hint early on for me. Of course, it took me a long road of trying to control it in 8,000 different ways,
Sure.
trying to not run into that brick wall I kept hitting every time it would get bad, and thinking that the option of not being able to continue drinking and using was just so far out of my scope of anything I knew, that it was terrifying for me. It truly was. I remember that day of knowing that treatment was my only option. I couldn't do it on my own. And going into that treatment center and thinking, my life's over. My life is over. This is it. I have done everything I can possibly do to screw it up, and now it's done. I will never have fun again. And
that's it.
I might as well be dead.
That's it. There you go.
But it's
so. Well, the beauty, the thing is that, and it wasn't for me either. And the beauty of it is now, help is a lot more accessible than it used to be. It wasn't such a taboo subject anymore, as it was then. And, people are a little bit more comfortable with, maybe this is a problem. Maybe I need to kind of take a look at this. And that's the beauty of this program of yours, is that, you explore the possibilities. Well, what if? Maybe this is. And you know what? Maybe call phone number and kind of discuss it. It's like, either I've got this problem, or it's I got this family member, and I've been trying to cover for him for a long time, and it's not going so well. And is this something I need to look at, kind of thing? So this program has just opened up some doors that just hasn't been opened, and it's so important, because the payoff is a great life if this is dealt with, or this could be another tragedy if it isn't.
And that's a really good point too, is that one of the things that we're trying to do with this show is to carry the message to all of society that this is not something that remains hidden anymore, that addiction does not have the stigma that it once did, that it's a medically recognized disease. It has biological basis and all of, and it is fixable, it is maintainable, it is something that life does happen on levels that we can't even imagine in a wonderful way after you actually decide to make that change. And you are listening to Just Believe Radio. I'm your host, Brenda. I'm here with my guest, John. We have a 24-hour hotline for anyone that wants to talk to somebody. It's 877-309-3635. And we were talking a little bit about some of the organizations that are available now to be a part of recovery and to actually help you experience things that you never had sober. And one of those we were talking about before was Rockers in Recovery, and some of the concerts that they've done to the tune of, in some areas, 23,000 people, sober people in a concert environment, and being able to enjoy things that we'd never imagined being able to go to clean and sober before.
Well, that's it. And again, it's something that somebody told me a long time ago, is don't feel like a freak show because you don't drink or drug anymore.
Right.
And it's nice to go to a place in an environment where, you got some like-minded people that are, in different places and phases of their recovery, and some of them are new and feeling really weird, and some of them are like me and just wear it like a loose garment, as they say, just very chill about the whole thing, and it's just nice to experience something like that, to kind of celebrate the fact that there is this big old life after addiction, that it doesn't, it's something really much greater has started, as opposed to something far less important has ended.
Absolutely. And the feeling, I've had it more times than I can even count anymore, is, wow, if I knew it would be like this sober, I would have done this a long, long time ago. And that gift of knowing that, there's not only life afterwards, but there's a life that we never expected to be possible. We do need to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with our guest, John, and we'll be talking about all of the fun things you get to do in recovery and how it feels to be there. We'll be right back.
At Just Believe Recovery Center, their highly trained staff has a combined 50 years in recovery and is certified to help with each client's individual needs. The program at Just Believe Recovery Center brings those suffering from addiction and their families the understanding needed to begin healing from the devastation and begin the path to a new and fulfilling life in recovery. The staff understands what addiction has done to your family and that no one chooses to become sick. At Just Believe Recovery Center, with a therapeutic process and a caring staff that understands addiction, their clients can choose to become well. Go to justbelieveradio.com for more details and call their 24-hour hotline today, 877-309-3635. That's 877-309-3635 for caring guidance and an end to the pain of addiction now. Just believe there is another chance, and call 877-309-3635 today.
Welcome back to Just Believe, sponsored by Just Believe Recovery Centers, with your host, Brenda Swift, as she discusses all aspects of addiction, recovery, and sober living. Now, back to your host, Brenda Swift.
Welcome back to Just Believe Radio. I'm your host, Brenda, and I am here with my guest, John, in Atlanta. Welcome back.
Brenda.
Hi. We're talking a little bit today about that moment, I think, that we realize that drugs and alcohol are not working, no matter how many times we try to figure out a successful way to go about it. It always seems to end with hitting that brick wall that creates so much pain that we know that it's time, that we need to start to look at what other options there are to what we keep creating. And when you were talking a little bit in the previous segment about being so able to continue to work, and because a lot of us are not to toot our own horns or anything, but it's a kind of a proven thing that there's a lot of intelligence in people that have addiction. We're able to maneuver a lot of things and figure out a lot of things, and we're normally pretty successful initially in fields that we choose to go into. I was a business owner, respected in the community, all of that kind of stuff. But yet, like you talked about, my personal life was a disaster. And I had that feeling that started with the addiction and then continued to grow over and over throughout, that if people only knew what I was really like, they wouldn't be coming to this business at all. They wouldn't be able to look me in the eyes. And always trying to hide who we feel like we are. as a result of what the addiction's causing. Was that part of what you were sharing as well?
Sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was the dark side of John, and I get into this whole recovery process, and process of recovery, and they talk about the Jekyll and Hyde, and it was like, oh man, yeah, that's exactly what
Yep.
the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing going on in my life. There was the John during the day, and the brainiac, fix this, all this stuff kind of a thing, and was really good at it. And then there was the John at night, which was this partying idiot who would just find new ways to kind of numb himself from the world, and not really understanding why I was doing it, but that's what I did. That was the rut that I was in. Not knowing there was this routine, but I didn't have a routine. I had a rut. I mean, that's just all there was to it.
Yeah, I remember getting to the point where it wasn't. My only goal was to get through the workday so that I could numb myself up again, and it was a continuous numbing, because work is an addiction as well for me.
Sure.
And being able to stay numb through that and just handle what needs to be handled, very effective in that environment, because I could not think about what I was feeling. And then the minute being off of work, I had to get numb instantly, because I didn't know how to process any of the feelings that went along with what I was going through. And that's one of the biggest things about getting help, and what I don't think we realize when we're still running from it, is that there's a reason all of these feelings are so hard to deal with, because we don't have the skills that it takes to actually process them in a natural way. That we get to learn in recovery.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that I had to look back, and this is one of the things that hopefully I'm trying to convey here a little bit, is that I'm not an idiot. It's one of those things that what is it I like to say is somebody just coming into the program, is that I'm not stupid. I'm an alcoholic, and the reality of it is that I've got this part of me, part of my brain, which handles and processes alcohol and drugs and just addictive things one way that is sort of different from the rest of the people out there that don't have an addiction problem. And I needed to understand that and be okay with it. It's like, it's all right. It's okay. There is a solution for all that. I just didn't know what that was. And so I found people that did, and they made it look really easy. And it wasn't easy for me, because I tried to make it difficult, because I tried to continue to do what I was doing, and unfortunately it didn't work out very well at all until I got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm done. I've had it. Show me something else. And when I made that transition from wanting something other than the old life, then things really started to happen, and happened very, very rapidly. I just had to get out of the way.
And yeah, you make a good point too, in that I don't think, I know for a fact that none of us chooses to be an addict or an alcoholic. And,
Right.
and we didn't dream to one day wake up and be a falling down drunk, or, managing prescriptions through various doctors and all that kind of thing. This process happens sometimes quickly, but usually it's pretty insidious. It works on a different level and takes a little bit more of us as time goes on. I remember thinking, though, and the thing that stands out for me right as you were sharing, is the realization that it wasn't that I was a horrible person and could not get my act together. It wasn't my fault that I was a sick person, but it was on me to make the changes to be able to start to manage life substance free, and be able to approach the disease I have in a way that makes me a functional member of society, and somebody that is actually okay and at peace and able to live life as opposed to run from it.
Well, I can't sit there and blame the world for the fact that I have this addictive thing going on with me that needed to be addressed. It's not anybody's fault. And it was, once I got okay with that and sought out the solution, then I felt better about things. I felt like there was, well, maybe there is hope out there. And I was looking around, I was looking at other people that, we've been talking about that, or having fun, that were actually having a life, that weren't drinking and drugging and stuck in their addictions. They're having a great time. So I started to make the connection that maybe this could also happen for me. Maybe this could also work for John, and sure enough, it did. I just needed to believe in something other than addiction. I needed to believe in that there was hope, that these people really did know what they were talking about. I needed to understand that there was help out there. I just needed to start, partaking of that, as opposed to trying to deny that, that there's this 8,000 pound elephant in the middle of the room kind of a thing.
Right. And that feeling that you're running from something, that's what I remember biggest of all is, so if you feel that you're running, trying to stay a step ahead of all the things that are happening because of addiction in your life, the number to call is 877-309-3635, and that's a 24-hour hotline. You're listening to Just Believe Radio, and I'm here with my guest, John. We're talking primarily about the moments at the end of our addiction and being able to get into recovery and see that there is such a huge, phenomenally vast world in recovery that's available today, that it doesn't remain hidden like it used to. And there is no shame in having a disease that is, medically based. And the biggest thing is that there's such a huge solution that we're able to really get our lives back, no matter how far down the scale we've gone, no matter how many things that we've destroyed along the way. There really is a step-by-step process that helps us, as well as being able to, like for me, remove myself from the environment and get help in treatment. That was a huge help. But primarily the one last thing, primarily seeing that we're not bad people, we're sick people, and that there is help available to get well.
Well, that's it. I mean, if you you had some medical condition, you would take your medicine. Well, this is my medicine. This is what I do in order to relieve myself of that issue. It is not a problem in my life as long as I take that medicine, called recovery, called having the awareness that, this is where I came from, but this is not where I ended up. This is not where I have to be. I can be anywhere I want to be, as long as I remind myself that I need to kind of stay tuned up and remind myself that drinking and drugging is not a solution to anything anymore. And as long as I am okay with that, all sorts of amazing things happen. I mean, one of the reasons I'm up here in Atlanta is because I was given an offer from a engineering firm up here that made me an offer I just couldn't refuse. It was a great offer, so I came up. I've been in South Florida, grew up in South Florida. Kind of miss South Florida right about now. But you know what? I like. I kind of like it up here. I like the mountains. I like getting on my Harley and driving around the mountains and around the state and everything. And I'm not limited by addiction anymore. I'm not limited by feeling like I need to stay in this little box, because that's the only little box that I know. The sky's the limit right now, and I would not have realized that if I was still stuck there, in my addiction.
Absolutely. The gift of that, and I know it's absolutely beautiful up there, and it just reminds me of all of the just phenomenal things that I've gotten to do in recovery that I know my life would never have included if I would have continued that same, like you talked about, that same rut of doing the same thing over and over again, and then trying to hide from all of the consequences that followed. It's just been a real gift experience things, going places that I never would have, spent the money to go because I wouldn't have any money left.
We just have limited ourselves for so long because of addiction that once you get out of that trap and you start looking around, you go, whoa, look at all this. This is what I've been kind of robbing myself of.